Hello everyone and welcome to tutorial number 52 in a series of video tutorials for Java programming. Don't forget to click on the subscribe button and click on the bell icon as well to stay up to date with every tutorial I upload on my channel. In the last tutorial I discussed about annotations, so we have fully completed the concept of annotations. So now in this tutorial we are going to talk about the concept of generics. Okay, then we'll talk about classes, generic interfaces, generic methods, constructors, bounded types, wildcard arguments, etc. So as I told you in one of my previous tutorials itself, like generics, generic class is a class with type parameters inside it. Like for example, right now I'm going to create a new Java class. Okay, so for doing that we need to go to new, then Java class. Then after that I'm going to click on class because I'm trying to create a class. Then after that I'm going to name the class as generic because that is exactly what this class is going to be. It is going to be a generic class. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, now I'm going to make this class really as a generic, because right now this class is, even though it is named as generic, it is not generic in nature. Okay, so I'm going to make it generic. So how to make it generic? It is very simple. We just need to add the type parameter inside it. So if you remember, we just need to open and close this bracket, angular bracket, and then after inside it we need to write a type parameter. Okay, I am providing it as t. Okay, so basically this becomes a kind of let us say generic class. Okay, so this class generic, it is now it has become a generic class. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to create object of this class here. Okay, so let me just create one or two functions here. Public, okay, public t, okay, let us say get type or something like that. Get, I'm just going to name it as get. Okay, get, not get, public t, public t, get t. Then I'm going to simply return this t. Okay, so then after this what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make this t as private. Okay, because of abstraction, or let us say because of that encapsulation and all those things. Then after this I'm going to create another function for setting t, this dot t equals t. Okay, now now let us try to create object of this generic class over here. Okay, so first of all I'm going to create generic string. Okay, generic string gen equals to new generic string. Okay, now one thing which you need to keep in mind here is that there are two ways to write generic here. Either you can write it like this, or you can even remove this string here. Okay, even then also it is going to work perfectly fine. But you need to remember that writing string here is mandatory. Okay, or to specify the type here is mandatory. Okay, you cannot write it like this. Okay, so because you're using a generic class, you need to write string here. Okay, I don't mean that it is mandatory to write string here. You can write anything apart from string here as well. Okay, because this is a generic class, so you can write anything here. Okay, so we will look into the examples later on. All right, so then after that what I'm going to do is let me do one thing. Let me create a constructor here, public generic string t, this dot t equals to t. Okay, okay, this dot t equals to t. Okay, I'm just going to make it as t. Okay, all right, so now what I'm going to do, I'm going to write here generic class or something like that. All right, So now what I'm going to do here is I'm just simply going to write system.out.println gen.getT. So what do you think the output is going to be? The output is going to be generic class. Alright. So let us just wait for the execution to finish. So it is generic class. Okay. So now the thing here is, we can create one more object of the generic class. Like let us say I'm creating generic number. Okay, gen equals to new generic. Then here I'm writing 12, let us say. Then after that system.out. Okay, I named the local variable, as gen. Okay. So I am naming it as GENN, okay, instead of GN, because it already exists here. Okay. So then after that system.out.println GENN.getT. Then after this I am going to press on the run button, and it is going to print generic class, and it is going to print 12. Okay. So what does this mean? Basically, you can, this is a generic class, okay, and you can, create multiple objects, using different type parameters. Here, what I'm doing when I'm creating the object of this generic class, when I'm using this string here, the value, this t, it gets replaced with string. Okay, so now I think you will understand how this is, saving the code. It is saving the lines of code, because here the t gets replaced with string, here also the t gets replaced with string automatically. Okay, you don't need to write even a single line of code here. And similarly here, the t gets replaced with string, here also the t is going to get replaced with string, and here also the t is going to get replaced with string. Okay, so that is for this particular statement. Okay, and here I am using generic number, and if I use generic number, the t will get replaced with number here. Here also to get replaced with number, here as well, and here as well. Okay, so basically by creating a generic class, what you are doing is, we are able to, use two different data types. One is string, one is a number. This will work with characters as well. Okay, this will work with booleans as well. So let us try them as well. Okay, so GNC equals to new generic. Let us say I'm writing A here. Okay, then system.out.println GNC.getT. Then it is going to print it A here. Okay, in much the same manner I can use boolean as well. Now one thing you need to keep in mind here is that you cannot write instead of number you cannot write int here. That is not going to work. Okay, so you need to keep this thing in mind, that you cannot give a primitive type as a type parameter. I think I have already explained this particular thing with the help of the PPT. So you need to keep in mind that you cannot provide a primitive type as a type parameter. That is not allowed. Alright, so you need to always provide the type wrapper over here. Okay, similarly here you need to provide the type wrapper character class. In much the same manner if you use for the boolean, let us say. Okay, then here also you need to follow the same concept. You need to provide boolean. Boolean is a type wrapper, right? So then after here I am putting true. Okay, I'm sorry, I made a mistake there. Here I need to write true. Then system.out.println gnb.getT. Alright, so now if I press the run button, it is going to print true. In much the same manner, if I replace this true with false, it is going to show false. Okay, so this was so what are we seeing here? By using a generic class, we are able to reuse this class a lot of times by creating different variables. Okay, this particular class, it is accepting, the t is getting replaced with a string as well, t is getting replaced with number as well, the t is getting replaced with character also, and t is getting replaced by boolean as well. Okay, so this is the main concept of generic classes. Okay, then after this we have the concept of generic interfaces. Okay, so let me go to generic interface. So I'm going to create a new generic interface here. So new Java class. Okay, then go to interface, gen interface. Okay, So GN, it is short for generic. Then after that I'm going to create that interface. Now right now this interface is not generic, okay, because it is not having any type parameter inside it. So I'm going to create, make this interface as generic by doing this thing. So now this particular interface has become generic in nature. All right. So then after this, what we can do, we can create methods like, let us say, t get t, isn't it? Then after that we can write void set t. Okay. Then t. So now I am going to implement this particular interface here. Implements gn interface t. Okay. So now if you remember, all these methods I already defined here. Okay, this I defined the same method in this generic interface. So because of that reason, it is not giving any error whatsoever. Okay, so this is how we are going to create a generic interface. Okay, now one additional thing I told you, if you remember, one additional thing I told you that like for example, if the class can be generic, the class need not be generic. I told you that the implementing class, it is not mandatory that the implementing class has to be generic. Okay, like for example, here I can make this class as non-generic, but one problem is going to come into the picture, that if I make this class as non-generic, then it is going to provide problems here. So in order to resolve that, you need to write string here, or you need to write let us say number or something like that here. Then after that, instead of t, you need to write a public string. Okay, you need to replace this t by string. You need to write string here as well. Okay, you need to write string here as well. Then you need to write string here as well. Okay, if you remember. So I told you this, I already told you this, when I used the PPT, that the generic interface, it can be implemented by a non-generic class, but you need to keep in mind that it has to implement a specific version of a generic interface. Like you need to mandatorily write string here, or you need to write number here, you need to write character here, or a boolean here. Okay, so once again I'm going to revert it back to generic t here. Okay, and I'm going to make this class as generic once again. So then after this, okay, so we have resolved all the errors finally. All right, so that's all about generic interfaces. Okay, so one thing to keep in mind is that whenever you are creating a generic interface, obviously there has to be a class which is going to implement it. Either a generic class can implement a generic interface, okay, that is the case over here, or a non-generic class can also implement a generic interface. But in that case, if a non-generic class is implementing a particular interface, you need to mandatorily write string here or something like that. Okay, you need to explicitly mention what the t is going to get replaced with. Okay, otherwise it's not going to work. You can try it from your side. Okay, I don't need to explain it in more depth apart from this, but because I already showed you that it was giving an error. If I remove this t, it is already giving an error here. It does not know what this t is. It cannot resolve this symbol t. Okay, right now this class, it has become non-generic in nature because there is no type parameter present here, but there is a type parameter present here. So because of that reason, it is giving an error. Okay, so a non-generic class, it can definitely implement a generic interface, but you need to explicitly mention what the t is going to get replaced with. So I hope this concept is clear to you. Okay, so then after this we have the concept of generic methods. Okay, so now one thing you will be wondering that, okay, we have the concept of generic classes, we have the concept of generic interfaces. Okay, so one thing perhaps it might come to your mind is there a concept of generic enums. Is there a concept of generic enums? Let us try it. Okay, so we have this particular enum here. The name of the enum is day. So let us create a generic enum, and right away you can see that it is creating an error here. And enum, it may not have type parameters. Okay, so please keep in mind that enums, they cannot be generic in nature. Okay, only an interface may be generic, only a class may be generic. Okay, there is no concept known as generic enums. Okay, so please keep that in mind. Then after that we have the concept of generic methods. Okay, so let us create the concept of generic methods here. Okay, so I am going to create the concept of generic methods here only inside tutorial. Okay, because it is not mandatory that you need to create generic methods in a generic class. If you want, you can create a generic method here as well. Okay, but it is not mandatory. Okay, you can have generic methods inside a non-generic class as well. Okay, so first of all, what I am going to do, I am going to write public, okay, tu. First of all, I am creating public tu, okay, void swap numbers ttuu. Okay, I am going to swap objects. It is not swap numbers, it is going to swap objects. Okay, obviously if you are going to swap objects, actually should be of that same type. Actually it should not be of the different type. So I am going to remove u here. Okay, so it is going to be tu. All right, so now the concept is going to be very simple, obviously. Okay, it is going to simply swap two objects. Okay, so let us swap two objects here. Okay, so t r equals to t. Okay, I'm using a third variable to swap two objects here. Okay, then after that, because you need to remember that this is not number, I'm not using a number here. Okay, so we need to mandatorily use third variable here. We cannot use the concept of swapping two numbers here. Please keep that in mind. Okay, we cannot write t plus u because the compiler doesn't know what is the what is the data type of this particular object. Okay, because it is generic in nature, right? So we need to mandatorily use the third variable here for swapping the two numbers. Then after that we can write t equals to u, then we can write u equals to r. Okay, then we can write system.out.println after swapping. Okay, the objects are okay. Then after that I'm writing t, then after that comma, then after that I'm writing u. Okay, so and I am going to copy the same line and I'm going to write it over here. Okay, so I am going to replace this after with before. So basically what I'm doing here, this is a generic method. This particular method is generic in nature, and this particular method is extremely powerful in that it can swap any two objects. Okay, whether it is a number, whether it is a character, whether it is a boolean, it can swap, whether it is a string, it can swap any two objects. Okay, this method is extremely powerful that it can swap any two objects. Okay, so let us try out this particular method. Now please keep in mind that this particular method, it is not static in nature, so we need to make this method as static. Okay, even static, I don't think static methods cannot be generic in nature. Okay, so that is also one thing which you need to, I think, can we make it static here? No, we cannot. Okay, yeah, we can. Okay, it's fine. Okay, so if you're making the particular method as static, then you need to keep in mind that this generic parameter t, type parameter t, should appear after static. Okay, okay, so now let us access this particular method. Let us access this particular swap objects. Okay, so swap objects. Okay, so first of all I want to swap two numbers. Let us say 10, 20. Okay, I am swapping two numbers here. Okay, then after that swap objects, let us say true, false. I am swapping two booleans. Then after that swap objects, let us say a, b. I am swapping two characters. Then after that swap objects, I'm swapping two strings. Okay, let us say I'm writing first string, then I'm writing second string. So then after this, if I press the run button, let us see what is going to happen. Okay, so this method, it is extremely powerful, that now you can see first line it is showing 1020. Okay, so I'm going to give a little bit of space here because the formatting doesn't look correct to me. Okay, so I'm going to give a little bit of space. So now I'm going to press the run button again. Okay, so thankfully, the problem has been solved. Okay, I found out what the problem was yesterday, why it was taking so much of time to build the programs. So right now it has completed the execution in just 4 seconds. Okay, so now you can see this problem here. Before swapping, the objects are 1020, and after swapping, the objects are 2010. So basically it has swapped two numbers. Okay, in the second output, I'm going to write one additional statement here, system.out.println. Okay, I want to give some space in between the outputs. So once again I'm going to press the run button, and then we are going to interpret the output. Okay, so now we can see that this output looks a little better now. Before swapping, the objects are 1020, and after swapping, the objects are 2010. So this particular method, it has swapped two numbers. Okay, then here before swapping, the objects are true false, after swapping, the objects are false true. Here also it is working fine. Before swapping, the objects are A, B, after swapping, they are B, A. It has swapped two characters as well. And before swapping, the objects are first, second, and after it has become second, first. So, this same method, we are using a single method, okay, to swap two numbers, to swap two booleans, to swap two, two characters, for swapping two strings, and obviously you can expand this further to swap two floating values as well, like let us say 20.0f, 35.0f. Okay, and you can use the same for swapping two let us say two double values also. Okay, you can use it for swapping all the primitive types. Okay, but the power of this particular function is that it can be used for swapping two objects of tutorial as well. Okay, let us do that. Like, it is very interesting. Let us do that. Swap objects. Okay, new tutorial. Okay, now remember, this new tutorial is different from this new tutorial. Please keep that in mind. Both these tutorials, objects of this new tutorials are not the same. So right now I'm going to press the run button, and let us see what the output is. Now you can see here tutorial.4e50df2e. okay, here it is showing 1d, 8, 1e, b, and 3, whatever it is. Okay, and here you can see that the first, this particular value, okay, this particular let us say this particular hex value, it comes to the first position, and this particular value, it comes to the second position here. So it has been successfully swapped. Okay, so that is the concept of generic methods. Then after this, we have the concept of generic constructors as well. So let us talk about the concept of generic constructors. Okay, so right now I'm going to remove this particular thing. Now okay, I'm going to remove this call also, method calls. Now I'm going to return here once again. Okay, I wanted to actually create a generic class here, generic constructor here, but I will create a generic constructor here only. So t okay, public t tutorial t. Okay, so now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to I think so this is a kind of a generic constructor actually. Okay, this is a kind of a generic constructor. All right, so but how do I create the object of this now? Creating the object of this is going to become very difficult right now. So this can be possible only if I make this as t, right? So okay, I am not going to do that. leave it. So this is a kind of a generic constructor. Okay, I have defined a type parameter here, and I am writing tt here as well. Okay, so now you can you can create objects like this, like let us say new tutorial, and you need to write let us say tutorial or something like that here. Okay, so this is how you're going to create object of this particular class. Okay, here you can write the logic. Okay, but this is just a demonstration of how to create a generic constructor. Okay, right now we are not looking into the logic of generic constructors. We are just looking how to create a generic constructor. So this is how we are going to create a generic constructor, and this is how we are going to call this particular constructor. Okay, you need to write new tutorial. You can write new tutorial, let us say 25. Okay, then also this particular constructor will get called. New tutorial, let us say I write true, then also this particular constructor will get called. Okay, you write new tutorial. Okay, new tutorial 20.0f, then also this particular constructor is going to get called. So this is the concept of generic constructors. Okay, so we are going to look into this particular concept a little bit more in the next tutorial. Then after that we are going to look at bounded types also. Okay, if you remember, we discussed bounded types in when I discussed the PPT, and finally we'll discuss the concept of wildcard arguments as well. So I hope you understood the concept of generic classes, generic interfaces, generic methods, and generic constructors. So that's all I'm going to talk about in this particular tutorial. So if you have any kind of doubts or any kind of questions, then don't forget to post in the comment section below, and I will get back to you when I can. And if you liked this particular tutorial, then don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And yeah, I will see you in the next tutorial. So till then, bye.